Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Kayla, and today I'm going to be talking about why I started my weight loss journey. First, let me give you a quick background of myself. I have been struggling with weight most of my life. Being an athlete helped keep it at bay, but I was usually bigger than the average person. Then, when I stopped participating in sports and was no longer forced to work out, I stopped completely and literally blew up. I gained like 60 pounds in 3 months. That was back in 2009, so for 11 years now I've been dealing with extreme obesity. There's been numerous times where I've wondered if I'll ever lose all the weight and keep it off. The struggle is real, folks, when it comes to obesity. This is why I've tried and failed to diet, lose weight, exercise. And some of you may wonder, like, honestly, what's the struggle? You're not straining yourself to lose weight or anything. Well, besides the negative connotations and comments that are always revolving around being fat, there's a huge effect to quality of life. And I'm not talking about health issues, because even at my largest, I've never had health issues that most people think are synonymous with being fat. No, I'm talking about society catering to the smaller person. What I mean by this is that most restaurants, waiting rooms, planes, they all have this standard size seating. And this is really uncomfortable and sometimes even painful to sit in if you are overweight. It's basically like posting a sign that's saying, "No fat people welcome here." Clothing accessibility is also an issue. Although plus size has extended more options in the last few years, there's nowhere near as many retailers selling plus size as they are selling straight sizes. And even retailers that sell straight sizes and plus sizes will often have a completely different line of clothes for plus size, which are nowhere near as stylish. And did you know that even activities can have size limits? That's right. Horseback riding, helicopter rides, zip lining, they all have weight limits that you have to reach or you can't even do it. And even roller coasters, you have to actually be able to fit in the seats in order to be able to enjoy the ride. As a plus size person, you almost feel compelled to hang back and not experience life, because either you don't want to be embarrassed to be told that you're too big to do something, or feel uncomfortable because you're forced to fit yourself into a standard size anything. Unfortunately, I know this embarrassment firsthand. There was a trip that I went on and I really wanted to do this zip lining thing. And I was worried about my weight because, something's holding you up, so your weight's obviously going to matter somewhat. Well, I went to the ticket guy and I asked numerous times, like, will I be okay for this? And he's like, yes, you'll have no problem. I'm like, are you sure? There's no weight limits. Are you sure? Yes. Okay, great. So this whole thing was like an entire hike and there was snorkeling involved and everything, but we hiked for a while to get to the ziplining point. And then we turned the corner to get there, and guess what? There's a weight limit sign. So I try to casually walk up to the employee and say, look, the person that told me the ticket said there wasn't a weight limit. Am I gonna have to be worried about this? And he was like, no, it's fine. As long as you can fit in the harness, you're good. So I literally proceeded to try to stuff myself into this standard size harness in front of 20 people in my group, and it's not going past my thighs. It's just not gonna happen. So literally everyone that was there got to see that I'm too fat for this ride. It was so embarrassing. I tried to act like it wasn't a big deal, and I just casually walked over to the waiting area where I proceeded to cry for 12-15 minutes. It was so embarrassing. Now I make sure that I literally read everything to make sure there's no weight limit. And if I don't see a weight limit on it, I'll either call or I just won't go, because I refuse to be embarrassed like that again. And in addition to the limits on what you can do, It's also about how you feel about yourself. Now, I know I speak for some and not all in this regard. Some people who have plus size bodies feel amazing, and I give them applause for that. But for myself, I feel super self-conscious, even more so before I lost the weight. I felt disgusting and unlovable. Even in your career, I feel like it can hold you back because people want to be around attractive people. They are naturally drawn to them. And our society tells us that fat is not attractive. I could wear really cute clothes and have my makeup on point, but I would still feel less than a smaller person. So devil's advocate would ask, if all these things are so hard to deal with, then why didn't you just lose weight? How is it that hard? Well, honestly, I could go over a whole video talking about exactly that. But the short answer is, it's complicated. I mean, none of us are perfect. We all have issues, whether it be that you're not great with money, or you're not good in school, or your career isn't great, or you're not good at relationships. Like, every one of us has some issue that we struggle with. And just because my issue is more visible than yours does not make it easier to overcome. But I did finally decide that enough was enough. There's a few circumstances that surrounded this decision. I mean, I always had the desire to lose weight, but the fight just wasn't there yet. So a couple of years ago was my first instance. I was going through a really rough divorce. It was a really bad marriage, but I wanted to stay as long as I could because I didn't feel like anyone else would love me if I left. I was too fat for that. And eventually my mental health outweighed my fear of being alone, but the fear that I would never find someone else at this size continued to stick with me. And then about a year later, same size, I was going to this work training, and a friend of mine was telling me how her and some coworkers were talking about who was the cutest in class. Of course, we didn't have very many women at the time in our class, but I wasn't even an honorable mention. I know that sounds shallow, but it really hurt. And I just felt like they couldn't see past the fat. Like, no matter how amazing of a person was, no matter how good of a personality I had, if I was fat, that's all they would see. And they couldn't get past it. And I just made a decision at that point that I'm not gonna let my fat define me anymore. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be the person that I always wanted to be. I'm gonna have my outside body reflect what I feel inside. And I'm gonna do this because I know I can, and I wanna be strong enough to do it. So this is when my weight loss journey began. That training was a year ago, and throughout that year there's been tons of ups and downs. I've fallen off the wagon more than once and definitely questioned my decisions on if it was right doing this or if I'm doing it right. So many different things. But ultimately, I've lost 60 pounds. Yeah, I feel like a completely different person. Like, I know I have a long way to go still, but I feel like I've done so much that it has really helped me feel like I really can do it, and that keeps me motivated to keep going. Now, my starting weight was 359 pounds. Honestly, I just don't know how I'll let myself get there. My goal weight is 190 pounds. So as you can see, I still have a really long way to go. If you're wondering, I'm 6'1", which may be why my goal weight is a little bit higher than most. But I started this channel because I wanted to record this journey for myself, and I also wanted to reach other people that were on their journeys. Hopefully motivate them to get out and let them know that yes, you can do it. If we are all here together, then we don't have to be alone. We are working through it together, which is more motivating than anything. So if you're really interested in following me on my journey, please hit that subscribe button and follow me to my next video where I will be discussing with you how I lost my first 60 pounds. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!